Hey guys, welcome back to My Sports Vice. Appreciate you tuning in. This is Jeff. We're going to talk about Week 3. Sorry if I sound a little scattered today. I've been working nights and haven't had a chance to really prep as much as I want to for this week's podcast, but I've put together some information. There's a lot of injuries this week, and we'll go over those first. We're talking about going into Week 3. Danny Woodhead out for the season. They already lost Brandon Oliver. This means Melvin Gordon obviously is going to get a bunch more touches. We talked about it last week. Travis Benjamin, I had him as a good pickup in your fantasy leagues. I picked him up in a couple of leagues, and he had 115 yards and 2 touchdowns because of Keenan Allen being gone. And I see that continuing. So there you go there. Adrian Peterson, torn meniscus. They're saying several months, so let's just call it out for the season because we only have a 13-week fantasy season. He's done. They announced today that McKinnon will be the starter, but I see him, McKinnon, and Asiata sharing carries. They also signed Ronnie Hillman today. So I picked up McKinnon in a couple of leagues. The way I look at it is McKinnon and Asiata are going to basically share the carries, but if one gets hot, they'll probably stick with him more often. And McKinnon's more of a pass-catching guy, quicker. Asiata is more of a goal line guy. A couple years ago this happened with Peterson, and I had picked up Asiata, and I played him in DraftKings, and he scored like 3 touchdowns in one game, and he had 10 touchdowns that season. But I'm going with McKinnon. I like the way he looks when he runs a little bit more than Asiata. And then Hillman is kind of an afterthought, more for depth than anything. But keep an eye on that. Recent injuries this week, there's a lot of them. Sammy Watkins left the game early the other day with a foot problem. He's questionable. Garoppolo is out. I don't know if anybody was playing him anyway. 2 more weeks, and then Brady will be back in. Doug Martin out for at least 3 weeks. That's another pickup you can make. Charles Sims, he usually plays pretty good when he's in there for Martin, so he would basically be the same as Martin. A lot of people tend to handcuff him if they have Martin, so you might have a hard time getting him off the waiver wire, but Charles Sims will be the play there. Josh McCown for Cleveland will not be playing. They'll be playing Cody Kessler this week at quarterback for the Browns. Arian Foster is doubtful. Ajayi is going to be the starting running back for Miami. You might want to think about picking him up. They're playing. Who are they playing this week? They're playing Cleveland this week, so he might be a nice little sweet pick, especially in DraftKings. Ajayi is how it's pronounced. Jonathan Stewart is probably going to be out 2 to 3 weeks. That's a yearly thing. Every year he misses at least 3 games. Every year. And we're in it right now, so they're not saying if it's going to be Austin Payne or Fozzie Whitaker as his starting running back. So we have to keep an eye on things there because I think they're going to be sharing the carries. Dante Moncrief is out 4 to 6 weeks, broken shoulder blade. Who's the Dorsett? Philip Dorsett would be the guy that would take over for Moncrief as the number 2 receiver in Indy. Amir Abdullah is out on IR with a broken foot. He'll be out for half the season, 8 weeks. So all you Theo Riddick owners, get ready because he's going to get a lot more touches. They'll probably go out and get somebody and try to sign somebody there. But I've got Riddick in a lot of leagues, and that's good news for me. I mean, I'm sorry for Abdullah, but that's good news for me. And then Jay Cutler, which I'm sure a lot of you guys weren't playing, is out 2 to 3 weeks with a broken thumb. There's a lot of injuries there, and there's your suggestions on who to pick up. Let's talk about what's going to happen this week. Last week, I was in my fantasy leagues. I was 6-1 in my free leagues and 1-1 in my money leagues. It puts me at 11-3 and 2-2 in my money leagues. Obviously, I'd rather be doing better in my money leagues, but I'm 1-1 in each of those leagues, so I'm still in contentions early in the season. I had told you that Cam Newton was going to have a huge day, and he did. 353 yards and 4 touchdowns. I played him in DraftKings with Kelvin Benjamin, who had 2 touchdowns and 100 and something yards. Huge day. Won some money there. I liked Palmer And, of course, he lit it up with 308 and 3 touchdowns. I knew the Andrew Luck wouldn't do well. Nobody does well against Denver. He only had 197 yards and 1 touchdown and 1 pick. I liked Elliott to have a good day. It wasn't a great day, but he did get in the end zone. He had 83 yards and a touchdown. And then my sleeper pick was Travis Benjamin, like we talked about earlier, and he had a big day, 115 yards and 2 touchdowns. I also liked Antonio Gates. He got in the end zone. Didn't have a lot of yards, but he did get in the end zone. Phillip Rivers doesn't seem to be too worried about his injuries. He just keeps slinging it. I was wrong on Breeze and Manning. I thought that was going to be a shootout. I had that as the high-scoring game of the week, and it was like 16-13. It was terrible. They had 631 yards combined and a touchdown. It wasn't very good. I thought McCoy would do a lot better. He only had 91 yards total and no touchdowns. Langford, I thought he was going to have a big day. I mean, he did get in the end zone. I'm starting to get a little worried because I had him in a few of my leagues, and it looks like he might end up sharing carries over there, so he needs to step it up for me. And then Barnage, I thought he would have a big day, and he only had 37 yards, but the Browns, they're a mess. High-scoring games of the week. I talk about these for fantasy, your fantasy teams and playing players out of these games, or in DraftKings as well. High-scoring game of the week is going to be on Monday night. Falcons at Saints. That ought to be a good one. They always just go nuts when they play. Matt Ryan will have a good day. He's going to be higher on the charts than usual weeks. He'll be slinging the ball around. Jones, Sanu, Freeman, Tevin Coleman, even Tammy. I have him as a sleeper pick for tight end. And then, of course, with Breeze, with New Orleans, you got Breeze, Ingram, Cooks, Snead, Fleener. They're all good plays. You just never know with Breeze and who he's going to be going to receiver-wise. I like the Houston-New England game to be a high-scoring game. That'd be surprising for some people, but I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. And then Detroit and Green Bay will be a high-scoring game. San Diego at Indianapolis will be a high-scoring game. I like Luck. Speaking of that game, I like Luck to have a big day this week. He'll bounce back from last week. I knew he wasn't going to do well. I mean, nobody does against Denver. Denver's got one of the best defenses I've seen in a long time, but San Diego doesn't. I mean, they played good last week, but I don't see it happening on the road. Luck will have a big day. Rivers on the other end will have a big day as well because they're going to get into a shootout. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. I wouldn't be surprised to see Rivers with another 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. Russell Wilson, I know you guys are worried if you have him on your fantasy teams. Don't worry. San Francisco will solve his problems this week. He will have a big week. Stafford, he always plays well against Green Bay. They get into shootouts. They're in Green Bay. The weather will be nice. Stafford will have a big day. Tannehill, I like him this week against the Browns. I think he'll play well. And then, of course, we talked about Ryan. I like him to have a huge day. It's a fast track in Indy, and Julio Jones on that side will have a big day as well. You got Ajayi, the running back for Miami. I already talked about him. I think he should do all right against the Browns. They're not very good rush defense. With Woodhead out, Melvin Gordon will be getting a lot more looks. So look forward to that. And then I've got Gurley busting out this week. It's you guys have drafted him early in the first round are probably getting a little worried, and I understand that, but I think he'll break out against Tampa Bay this week. The Texans are going to concentrate on stopping LeGarrette Blount. He's been doing well the last couple of weeks. They have a third-string quarterback. Houston will concentrate on stopping the run. I don't think Blount will do that well this week. I like Rashad Jennings, the running back for the Skins this week. Skins give up a lot of rushing yards, and Jennings has been playing well, so he's a good pick, especially in DraftKings. And then I like Freeman to do well this week on Monday night, going with the whole shootout theory. But he hasn't been playing very well this year either, and I think it's time for him to show up. Larry Fitzgerald's been on fire, so stick with him. He'll do well this week. I think Brandon Marshall's a little dinged up, and I think they'll put him out there as a decoy, and Decker's going to get a lot of looks. Decker's scored I think almost 10 games in a row he scored a touchdown, so I see that continuing. Jarvis Landry and Tannehill, they're getting on the same page, and they're playing well together. Last week they looked real good. They were in comeback mode against New England, and that's why they were throwing a lot. But this week they're playing at home against Cleveland, so I liked Jarvis Landry. I also like Benjamin to continue what he was doing, going back to what we were saying. It's going to be a lot of scoring in that game, San Diego at Indianapolis, and Travis Benjamin's going to reap the benefits of that. And then I like Willie Snead, and Jones to be the big receivers on Monday night. They'll try to cover Cooks, and then that'll leave Snead open. He's a little more slippery, I think. Cooks is more of a burner. But Snead and Jones will both have big days on Monday night. And then I like Rudolph at tight end this week against the Panthers. I like Gates to get in the end zone a couple times at Indy. I like Ebron against the Packers. Like I said, Stafford plays pretty good against the Packers. And I like Ebron. He's been getting a lot more looks lately. And then my sleeper pick at tight end is Tammy for Arizona. He should do pretty well. And then last week on DraftKings, I had some. I'm not going to do a value pick for DraftKings. I just don't have the time. I've been too busy working. But we'll quickly talk about it. I had Palmer last week. He did really well. I had Rivers. He had 4 touchdown passes. I had Fitzpatrick as a good play. He did well. He had a lot of yardage, but only had like 1 touchdown pass. I had Gordon. He had a good day. I like Langford. He got in the end zones. I didn't have too many good running back picks. I had Travis Benjamin. He was going for $4,400. We've already talked about him. Cole Beasley's been getting a lot of touches. He's not getting in the end zone, but he's getting a lot of catches. And then you're playing in PPR when you're playing in DraftKings. Edelman had a good day. Didn't get in the end zone, but he put up like 16 fantasy points anyway because he had a lot of catches. Gates got in the end zone. Rudolph had some few looks, but he didn't get in the end zone like I wanted him to. So those were my value picks last week. I did all right. I'm sorry this is a little bit of a hurried one this week. Like I said, I've been really busy working the night shift, 9 to 9, and just trying to get sleep in between. So I just kind of had to put this together a little more hasty than I normally like to. But I appreciate you guys listening. Hopefully you guys do well. I'm doing well in my fantasy playoffs in baseball. I'm in the second round. I won the first round. I'm in the second round, and I had a bunch of starters this week that have 2 starts. Is good. I had like 80 between the 4 starters Monday night. I had like 80-something points, and so I have like a 90-point lead going into today. Hopefully I can get to the next round, to the championship round. That's where the money is. So doing pretty good there, and doing pretty good in fantasy football. But just keep an eye on the waiver wire. Like I said, Charles Sims to replace Martin, McKinnon or Asiata to replace Peterson, Payne or Fozzie Whitaker to replace Jonathan Stewart, Dorsett to replace Moncrief. Theoretically get more looks. Look for them to sign a free agent. So there's a lot to watch for. Watch the waiver wire and see what you could get. Appreciate you guys listening. Talk to you next week. Out.